Welcome back, Visions fans. Ready Player Will here with an exciting announcement today. For those of you that may have seen in the in-game notices, there is a PvP tournament going on this week, tomorrow, and I've been selected to participate in that tournament. This video is obviously meant to add a little bit of hype, but it's also to talk a little bit about the tournament itself, who's going to be there, what to expect from the map, and I'm going to do some high-level map analysis and what it normally takes to get prepped for a tournament like this. So without further ado, let's jump into things. It is tomorrow, February 3rd, 7 p.m. Pacific. So translate that time zone however you may for wherever you are in the world, but that's the official start time. It is on the Square Enix Twitch channel, which I'm very excited about that it's on such a, highly visible platform. It is hosted by Justin, our community manager, as well as RNJ and Palladia, and there are some guest speakers coming, other really highly renowned content creators, Nerd Knight, Randall, and DegenTP. Hopefully I'm pronouncing all of those correctly. But overall, pretty stellar lineup. As far as I know, 4 of those 5 are going to have kind of an exhibition match to start, just to kind of kick things off and have some fun with it. But the map itself is Horncastle Gate. There's no cost limit. There's no buffs to the map in terms of elemental ups or downs. And it does allow for initial placement to be changed. And there's a whole bunch to be said about that we'll get into a second here. We're talking about the bracket and the 8 people altogether. Now, the rankings here are in no particular order. I absolutely promise you that. I am not a number 1 seed. But a little bit about the players. We have 2 members of my own guild here, myself and Justa from Lukavi, which is historically been a top 5 guild as of late. We also have Buki from VIP, which is the number 1 guild for an exorbitant amount of time, but also participants here from Kingdom, which I know has been a competitive guild for quite some time, and Howl and Thunder Gods I don't know a ton about, and I don't know anything about Malachi and Zeke the Seeker, unfortunately, but overall some really top tier guilds in the grand scheme of things that I think we're going to get some really interesting fights out of. Now, if I had to make a prediction right now, and let me also preface this about myself. I am very confident in my knowledge of the game. I'm confident in the mechanics, the stats, judging things relative to each other when things come out, getting a feel for how things should operate. But in something like this, a free match where it's really kind of pure chaos and theory crafting, not my strong point by any stretch of the imagination. So I do not have the highest hopes for winning. Hopefully none of you do either. But anything's possible. We'll see what happens. There is a fair amount of collaboration that goes into this, though. We'll get into why in a second. So my prediction, personally, my guild is going to hate me for saying this. I think Buki from VIP is the front runner, being frank. But we'll see if we can upset the number 1 member of the number 1 guild there. The reason why I say there's a lot of collaboration that goes on here, and this is the map from a bird's eye view. We'll talk about it more in a second. But the difficulties in preparing is that you can only mock in class match, which means you need a live player on the other side of things. So as much as it is like your own creativity coming up with these comps and what you want to try to do, it is also very much a collaborative effort where it depends on what you're mocking against and your level of competition and the input that they have in terms of advice and tweaks that you should make. So to that degree, it is kind of a collaborative effort, and which is why I'm excited to see so many esteemed guilds here, that there's going to be a lot of great minds thinking about how to best optimize this map. The other thing is there's a huge variety in initial positions. Now this bird's eye view map that you're seeing, just kind of outlining things, these shaded black squares essentially are areas that you can put your characters, your 3 characters, any of those spots. The numbers that are in them are the height of that square, and then for anything that has like a double blackened line here, that essentially indicates that it's more than a jump of 1 in order to go from one square to the other. And that's going to be important when you talk about your map analyses. There's also no map adjustments, and I mentioned this earlier, and when I say that, I mean buffs like wind resistance up or slash attack up. There's nothing, so there really isn't anything to dictate one type of element over another, so it truly is kind of a free-for-all to your most creative design. So getting a little bit into this map overall, just talking about the analyses, anytime you look at any map, the first thing you want to look at is the pathing your characters are going to take. And when we say pathing, it's basically looking at where the funnel points are and as determined by the topography of the map. So when you look at a map like this, you say, well, where are my characters with, let's say, a base jump of 1? Where are they most likely to funnel towards? And because of, you can see the double blackened lines here and the height limitations of crossing over, you're essentially basically 3 potential funnels. The first one here is right up the middle. The second ones are basically and the third one is basically these side areas. Now the asterisk on all that is not only is your movement determined by the topography and where you might naturally funnel, but also by the hate of where the enemy tank might start off with, where presumably you would have someone with initial hate to start most of the time, not always, but certainly seems to be the case. But you know, if you have a tank that starts here versus here, your team is going to have completely different pathing regardless of what you might like to try to do. It's one of the reasons why very, very high agility teams kind of have the edge, where if you can move first and you can get your tank in a spot where you want them to be, you can kind of dictate where the enemy goes, as opposed to the opposite, where if the enemy team is faster, you're kind of at the mercy of depending on where their starting positions are. Overall, it is a fairly long map and relatively flat in the starting areas that you can get a fair amount of different buffs off to start. There really are two strategies here where you can do kind of like a turtle comp where you just kind of stay here as long as possible, buffing as much as you can to get your buffs up, generating AP, and then obviously as the team fight goes on, you kind of converge here and boom, chaos happens. The other thing you can try to do is to do the opposite. Anticipating turtle comps, you can find your own comps that can quickly traverse the map to try to bait them out of the predicted rotation, if you will, and try to catch them off guard that way. Really numerous amounts of ways to do that, whether it's by mobility boosting abilities, whether you're doing quicken strats where you have characters take successive turns, variety of different ways, which is where the creativity really kicks in. Now, I'm not going to reveal anything about what I'm planning at the moment. I actually don't think there is a best one way or the other. I've seen a whole variety of different strategies work, and obviously things that worked in the past, we have a whole slew of new game changes where it may not work in the future either on this particular map. So very excited to see how things shake out to that regard. I actually do like this map for a variety of reasons as well, though. I really think it enables almost every kind of comp profile, if you will, where if you have a comp that wants to stay long range, you certainly have the ability to do it here. If you have a comp that wants to kind of turtle up and stay grouped together, you certainly can do that too, because you do have those three funnels. Very rarely have I seen turtle comps get very split between the two. It certainly happens, don't get me wrong, but less likely. So you can certainly have comps that stick together. Comps that are very high mobility, with a lot of jump, also thrive really well here, where all these natural funnels we're talking about kind of get turned upside down on their head, where someone that has a jump of 4 can quite easily just go anywhere they want here, and so the funnels mean less, and that mobility is certainly a strength. But also there's a fair amount of flat area as well, where if you're looking at all these different potential funnel areas, it's relatively flat, which opens up a lot of doors for a lot of different characters. I think one of the trickiest things about this map that I remember seeing from the first time going through, there's really not any hard choke points, but there is one square in particular that can be a nightmare for some. It's basically this spot right here between the height 3 and the height 4, where I have seen on numerous occasions characters that have gone this way, but the enemy is up here at the top, that this acts as a super, super hard funnel for how they meet and can throw things into chaos. That's really the only real hard choke I can think of on this map. But yeah, I'm very excited to see what everyone brings to the table. Super excited to see what I can come up with, the help of guildmates and just general theory crafting. And at the end of the day, just really appreciative for Gumi to do some kind of community outreach like this and have something fun for everybody to watch and just add a different kind of entertainment than we're used to seeing. So that's it. Hopefully you all can tune in. Really appreciate all the support that you've all given me in the past couple of weeks, and any support going into this tournament here. Wish me luck, hope for the best, and super excited to see how things turn out. Thanks, guys.